Hello and welcome to today's episode of Winning Mentality. My name is Daniel Cutright. Excited to be joining you guys today and excited to have our guest, Mr. Gray Ellington. Gray, how you doing?
Good, Daniel. Thanks so much for having me. Really excited.
Absolutely. And I know this is a busy week for you, so really appreciate you carving out some time. Gray is the founder of Wahoops, which a lot of our UVA fan base will be very familiar there. And Gray, why don't you just take a second and tell us a little bit about what is Wahoops, maybe for those who aren't familiar.
Yeah, I love to describe Wahoops as kind of a one-stop shop for pretty much all UVA sports news, updates, anything of that nature. We pull content and information from all over the internet and basically try to consolidate it into one feed or on your Instagram feed. So,
That's
yeah.
awesome. Cool. And this is an exciting week for you too. The date that we are releasing this podcast is the 4-year anniversary of Wahoops.
Yes, I'm super proud that, I'm sitting here 4 years later and I'm still doing this. It's been incredible. It's been so fun. I wouldn't do anything differently.
That's awesome. So to give people a little background too, so you graduated from UVA yourself, and talk about maybe just kind of your journey of coming out of school and, why did you start Wahoops in the first place?
Yeah, I've obviously been a huge UVA fan my whole life, huge sports fan, and went to UVA, like you said, graduated in 2016, and actually started the account a couple months after I graduated. So yeah, it's pretty much been something that I've done ever since I left Charlottesville. It's helped me stay connected in a big way to something that I love, and yeah, I'm just fortunate to be here talking to you and talking about it, because that means it's thriving.
No, absolutely. Now, when you actually got the account started, did you always know this was something that you wanted to do? Like, where did that idea come from? Was it something that just came to you? Talk
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to sort of work in the sports industry somehow. And I was, looking for jobs when I created the account. And it's just crazy that, you can start something on your phone and sort of break into an industry organically. Definitely never thought I could do it in this fashion, but, it's crazy. Yeah. Looking back, it's just been a wild 4 years.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So one of the things, and I think this is important for people to hear, and this is why I like getting different backgrounds on this podcast too, but I think a lot of times when people think about, whether it's starting a podcast or whether it's starting a business, they think that they have to have all their ideas perfectly laid out and in place. Was that the case for you? Did you know exactly what this was going to look like, or did you just kind of just get started?
No, and I still don't. I mean, that's kind of the thing. I'm still currently, especially with this new wave of interns, really trying to just be on the cutting edge and come up with, creative content that people like. And people spend a ton of time on Instagram. I mean, let's not beat around the bush there. It's a big platform. It's, people are on their phones a lot, especially at night. And we try to, center our content around those times. And yeah, it's I don't know going into the day a lot of times what's going to happen. I don't know going into each week sometime what's going to happen. But, it has been really nice getting these students and interns involved, because they're helping me plan ahead, stay organized, and come up with a lot of different content. So instead of it just being me, I have, a lot more eyes and ears, which it's going to really change the game.
That's awesome.
Which will be fun.
Obviously, it started with just you. This was something that you started on your own. How big is your team now?
We've got a big team. It's 24 to be exact. It sounds crazy, but it's awesome. Very pumped about it. There are 22 students, 2 high schoolers, believe it or not.
Wow, that's impressive. So Wahoo started 4 years ago. It was just you,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
now you're mid 20s, and you've got a team that you're running of 24 people on an account that's
Yeah.
been very successful. I remember when I started following Wahoops and just was super impressed with the content that you guys put out. And you guys started with just basketball, right?
Yes, started with just basketball. And yeah, it's evolved. I think it was the beginning of last fall. I was just sitting there and I think I was watching AC Network and a graphic popped up on the screen of, all of UVA's rankings and all different sports. And not that I didn't already know that we had fantastic, athletics outside of basketball, but it kind of just hit me, how many, not even just nationally recognized athletes, but like world class athletes that UVA has, top to bottom. And, we built this platform based on basketball, and I figured why not kind of, go in the opposite direction and try to give some visibility to some of these athletes in sports that definitely deserve it, but maybe don't get the visibility that, basketball and football do. And I'm a huge sports fan, so I follow pretty much everything, and covering all these sports has filled in those gaps. And I'm now, passionate about pretty much all these sports, and it's been fun to learn more about it, learn more about them, learn more about the athletes, and celebrate them a little bit more.
That's awesome. Yeah, coming from having a background in track myself, that's always music to my ears. When I started seeing some of these other,
I didn't know that. I didn't know
the
that.
Olympic sports start to pop up on there, you see stuff about rowing and track and volleyball. It's pretty awesome to see that, and you guys do such a great job, really kind of spreading the wealth, so to speak, and covering all these athletes.
Yeah, I
So
appreciate that.
yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that probably picked up. I mean, helped your following picked up too. We talked a little bit about that, but it's funny when people are looking at just kind of the world of social media. Like, how do I build a social media presence? It's
Yeah.
people will think it's a very saturated market. This is kind of tough to do. You and I talked a little bit about just the progression that you all saw from a follower base, and I think people that are familiar with Instagram, this will resonate with them too. But talk
Mm-hmm.
about that progression. When did you see maybe big spikes in following? What are you guys at today? What does that look like?
Yeah. I think I'll start by talking about how Twitter, UVA Twitter has anywhere from 10 to 20, people like me with accounts that, Twitter's obviously a lot different. It's more about your voice. It's more about, making just claims and opinions and all that, and sort of being more critical to the teams and players. I think what sort of separates Wahoops is we're more of a support system. We try to, build the players up and generally just look for the good in any situation or the good in any stat rather than, trying to pick apart, a 19-year-old for missing a couple shots and whatnot. So that's kind of where I think we've been able to get ahead of. I think that factor alone has helped us grow the most besides the content itself, because I think people really appreciate that positive tone and that supportive tone. I think we all kind of need that, especially in times like this, for sure. But the growth specifically, it's been amazing. It's been pretty consistent, I would say, outside of the national championship and Final Four weekend. So yeah, I mean, a tip to people on Instagram out there, it's quite simple. And people get worried about their ratio on Instagram. I wouldn't worry about that because, if you're building something good with good content, the ratio will figure itself out in the end. So what I did was I went and followed a bunch of people, not just anybody. I went to, UVA Men's Hoops account and I guess any other relevant accounts that I could find, and went and followed people that would like, mainly people that would just like and comment, sometimes people who'd recently followed. and that worked. People like getting followed, and they like that sensation. So
Yeah.
it worked, and that's how I was able to build a base. And I haven't unfollowed any of those people to this day. They're still, most of them are probably loyal to the account, which is great. And
Yeah.
I guess I should take a moment just say thank you to all the followers and everybody who comments and likes and all that, because I wouldn't be here without them. And I'm looking forward to making the account better to earn that continued support.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's awesome. I've just been following you guys for a few years now, and the content is always, it's spot on. And that's one of the things that you said there too, is, when you focus on the content, the ratio will take care of itself.
Yeah,
And I think that's really important for anyone in business is, focus on providing a quality service, and
exactly.
the rest of everything will take care of itself. That's actually, I learned that from I probably learned that from different places, but one of the places was actually Ragged Mountain Running Shop. I worked for Mark Lorenzoni for a little bit over there.
Okay.
Just legend in the community. And
Yeah,
that has always been their approach, service first, and, everything else will take care of itself.
that's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. So you guys grew, you're at about 26,000 followers now, good base.
Yeah.
Maybe talk about just some challenges that maybe you faced along the way in growing the account. Was it just this linear, like everything was awesome all the time, or like were there some
Man,
things that you had to figure out and just you're still figuring out?
definitely some challenges. I mean, the one that pops out to me, and the challenge that sort of is, the elephant in the room always for me, is Instagram isn't, I'm not really in control of my account at the end of the day. I got my account stripped from me for 2 weeks last Christmas. So it was December 20th
Yeah,
through January 4th. And, that was during our busiest time in basketball, football, and we had the Orange Bowl that we were looking forward to. So being shut out during the biggest football game in arguably Virginia history was tough, you know. And then just losing that momentum of growth, I think you can't really put a finger on that. It took a while to kind of build the follower growth back up. I don't know if that's because of, Instagram's whatever they got going on, but that is probably the biggest challenge, is being concerned about getting locked out again. And,
mm,
because luckily I have a friend that works at Facebook, which is on, Instagram and Facebook. And it took a few weeks, like I said, but he was able to help me out. So not everyone has that luxury, but I'm not trying to, bank on that in the future. But, thanks to Goo, that's his nickname,
yeah,
for helping me out with
always
that.
get it.
And
Yeah,
other challenges, I mean, there's a lot. Always just, I think, just knowing what the people want or like, trying to be creative, original, consistent, but, keep that voice, stay positive. Doing all those things at once while, creating the content and being prepared ahead of time. And then always adapting to, trends, which aren't always happening, but yeah, just kind of adapting to what you think the audience would want. Making the Instagram stories better over time has been a big thing and a challenge. And I'm still adapting on those. Even, yesterday, I think we're going to change how we make them and all that. So
yeah,
every day there's something new, but it's, either something really small or it could be something big. So
yeah.
a lot of it's day to day.
Now, Gray, going back to your story a little bit too,
Yeah.
because you had mentioned, how long are typically your work days, right? Is this just something that, you wake up at 8, you grab your cup of coffee, you're, just putting together
Yeah.
some things over lunch? Like, what does your day look like?
So I actually tell everyone this, mainly all my like interns and people I'm close with. I generally wake up anywhere from like 6:30 to 8:30, and that's just the honest truth. But my day could run anywhere from 10 to midnight. So, it's that's a 14-hour day, regardless. At the minimum. But what I tell everyone is, I'm probably not working 14 to 18 hours, but my window is 14 to 18 hours, and I bet you I'm working at least half of that, if not 3/4 of that every day. So
A lot of it is probably reactive too, because you have to
yeah,
react to what's going on. I'm sure timeliness is probably a big factor for you guys. Is
of
that
course.
right?
I think one of the biggest challenges we're up against is not being, Wahoops is an LLC, it's a company, but we're not an officially accredited, media source yet. And we don't go to the press conferences. We don't get media access to the games. I'm biased, but I see our numbers coming in, and I know that we're worthy of that. It's
Sure.
not, it's not the end all be all goal for us to be, at the games, but it is one of our goals eventually, especially with, this intern team. And I want to give them, professional growth opportunities. But that's kind of the challenge right now, is going from where we are to kind of being more official, but at the same time, do we even want that? It's kind of an interesting debate. So for
Yeah.
many reasons.
No, for sure. It'll be cool that, it's cool that we're doing this podcast now. It'll be cool to come back and do this in another, 2 or 3 years and see
Yeah,
where you guys are at. Cause I would imagine, just based on the growth you've seen and just your progression, I imagine you guys will be evolved to another level at that point too.
for sure. Yeah,
Um,
and that's the goal. Give these kids some opportunities for professional growth. And I tell everyone, it's not me trying to get on the field. I'm not trying to get a on the field pass. So
yeah.
we'll see how that goes. That's one of our goals, and some of our interns are really looking forward to that being a possibility one day. But it's especially a challenge with COVID and limited people at the games. So I kind of know that that's going to take a backseat until all this craziness is sorted out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one of the things I can tell about you too is you're very much interested in putting the spotlight on other people, and I think that role probably fits you well because you're highlighting all the other athletes, the sports. You talked about wanting to give different athletes just the spotlight that maybe don't normally get it. You've thanked multiple people across this call. You're talking about your team. Is that humility something you feel like you've always had? Because I'll be honest, Gray, like before
Mm,
today, I've never seen a picture of you on Wahoops. I've never seen, so it's very much. I didn't even know who ran the account until we met.
yeah.
So just I think that's something that people can learn from too. Was that always something that you feel like you had that characteristic?
I wouldn't consider myself the most humble person, but I try to be humble, when necessary. Because a lot of the credit is due to a lot of other people. But you know, I'm super happy with where we're at, and I'm actually thrilled to be able to say we now, and not
Yeah,
I. So
that's awesome.
I'm happy to be able to delve attention and credit to other people. You aren't wrong about that.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I think I've probably posted I think 2 or 3 pictures with me in it, but it
Okay,
had to do with so I do contests, as you know, about every week, and I think I've posted 1 or 2 pictures with contest winners and stuff like that.
that's
And
awesome.
then when things were super uncertain during COVID, I was worried that we weren't even going to get sports back, so I did a post sort of about me then. But I appreciate that. I try to, you know, I'm trying to give these students a platform to get experience and grow, and I want to give them as much opportunity and credit as possible. So,
Yeah.
yep.
Talk about you talked about some of the challenges. Maybe talk about some of the highlights in the time that you guys have had the account, whether that's certain events that you've covered or
Mm-hmm.
just personal highlights for you.
Yeah. Trying to think early on. Um, I think, kind of relating to the last thing we were saying, when I made the account, nobody knew, it was me. I didn't follow any friends or anything because I feel like they might be able to figure it out. But eventually, friends, naturally started following it. And for about a year, I didn't really know if, a lot of people knew if it was me and whatnot. So a big kind of moment and turning point was sort of when it became known that, I was doing it. And I think that allowed me to sort of put a little bit more effort into it and kind of take it to the next level. But I mean, the real turning point was when I moved from Chicago back to Richmond, Virginia, and really took it to the next step and put a lot more time into it. And yeah, from there, honestly, the big jump was obviously the national championship Final Four weekend. I think we saw, we were at about 7,000 to 8,000, maybe 8,500, and the the day after the national championship, we hit 10K, or I hit 10K, and that was super exciting to happen on a day like that. So, the few weeks after that, I was almost too shell-shocked and too excited and too happy to even focus on making the content better. So the content sort of stayed, I would call it average at that point. Looking back on it, one of my biggest regrets was not trying to get a few interns in that 2019 season and having the content be that much better. Because I think we would have gotten even more followers and even more loyal followers at that time. But have them now, so
Yeah,
that's all that matters.
now
And then another big moment is obviously the Tech football game. That was up there.
Really big moment. I actually was at the game and videoed the last play, the ending, and then when everybody rushed the field. And I'll frequently go back and watch that again to remind myself. So we might lose some Tech followers after they listen to this, but that's okay.
Shout out to my second intern, Caroline Price. She, talking about the VT game, reminded me because, she's at home during the Virginia Tech game, cutting out highlights during the game. She had a highlight video, ready 4 minutes after the game was over.
Wow.
And things like that you wouldn't realize how much effort and time goes into it. And she graduated last spring, and very thankful for all the help that and all the work that she put in. She did a lot for Wahoops.
That's awesome. Now, one of the questions I was going to ask you there, just as you were talking about this, but a lot of times when people are looking to scale their business and they're the one that started everything initially, they're the one that carries a lot of the responsibilities. Sometimes a challenge can be delegating some of those responsibilities to others. Now, for you, obviously, you started this. For a while, it was just you. Was that difficult for you to start handing off some of those responsibilities?
I'm very much in the thick of that right now. So I can talk about that at length at the moment. It is really hard. And you know what is the biggest challenge right now is every student just went home for 2 months, and I have no idea what their daily schedule is now. Beforehand I had their class schedule and all that, so I could reach out to them and kind of know when they were generally free. I think you can look at it as a double-edged sword. Maybe some of them will have a lot more free time, but it's going to be difficult to stay organized with knowing when they're free and all that. So, and they have family obligations and all that, and want to enjoy their free time. So, yeah, delegating right now is tough, but it's not. Going back to the large team, I mean, I brought on a lot of people, a lot of students for the specific reason of attacking a lot of these tasks as a group mentality. college kids are college kids. They have a lot on their plate. They like, they have their social life too. They have all their clubs and everything. Some of them work. A lot of my interns work too. And so they just don't have a ton of time to go around. So that's why I'm happy with, the strategy that I had initially was to get a couple people on each sort of task and role so that, on a Thursday night when women's soccer is playing in the ACC tournament and this person can't do it, this person can't record the game or whatnot, then that person can. So
Yeah.
people think it's crazy how big our team is, but necessary.
Yeah. That's cool, man. You're learning as you go and making
Mm-hmm.
adjustments. So just as we start to maybe kind of wind down here too, what are you excited about just with Wahoops moving forward? What's kind of your vision for the next year? Or, obviously we're in a little bit strange situation with, like you said, the COVID and everything going on right now, but.
Yeah, I've been really pleased with, just how the content looks the past couple of weeks with the intern team finally, you know, being in full swing, I would say. And I'm just really happy and looking forward to that continuing and getting even better because, like I said, everything sort of follows after that. That's the only thing we can really control. And yeah, I feel like Tony Bennett once said that, just, or every coach has probably ever said that, just control what you can control.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to getting some more of the interns more involved too. And, I think I mentioned this, but one of the biggest challenges is managing the team now because it is such a big team. But, not everyone's doing something every day. And so, yeah, I've brought on, student leader Avery, and she's starting to help me really get organized and get people on task, communication, strategy. I mean, I can't tell you how much time I put in just thinking, and just strategizing what we could do in the future, what we could post today, what goes in the story today, does it go in the story, does it go in the feed?
Yeah.
Just having those extra eyes and ears is honestly going to be amazing. And I'm looking forward to getting the team functioning even more efficiently and kind of having them take over in a way, because that's kind of, I'll always be overseeing it and I'll never be able to, take myself away from it because I'm so attached to it. But
Yeah.
I am looking forward to seeing kind of if the team can take it over in a way. But
Yeah.
we're transitioning to that as we speak. And I think once they get back to school, that'll probably be the case by
That's
then.
awesome. Very cool. I was going to ask you this question earlier too. Came back to me, but for context, because we were talking about when you started Wahoops, and I want people to hear this, but when you started Wahoops, you were still working a full-time job, right?
Yeah, I
Okay.
was.
And now this is
Yeah,
your full-time gig now, correct?
yes, it is. I've actually started working part time on a few things, but my schedule is super flexible.
Yeah.
So my days are incredibly fluid and crazy right now. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's
Yeah. The reason I
that's
asked.
how the account was able to grow so much.
Yeah, and I was gonna
Go
say the
ahead.
reason I asked that question too is I think a lot of times that is for people the scariest step is when they're jumping into an endeavor, making a leap of like, can I leave my full time job? Like,
Yeah.
was that a scary step for you to leave your job and go all in with this? But was it worth it?
Yeah. So I'll be honest, it wasn't like A to B, I'm gonna do this. I already had this going and I moved back east. But in the back of my mind, I knew that, you know, this is already something like, I'm definitely gonna spend a lot of this newfound time, you know, making this better.
Yeah,
But as the season went on, as the growth kept going, as I realized, wow, I can put a lot of time into this. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with this. That's when it sort of morphed into my full-time passion, I'll call it. And yeah, it is scary, I'm sure, for a lot of people. It's a tough, give and take. You got to decide what's important to you. And, I can't go without saying that, I am fortunate enough to be able to, do something like this. And I have a, supportive family. So I can't go without saying that. Obviously, not everyone's in the same situation as me, but I do want people to know how much work I have put into this. So it's been an amazing run, and it's we're still going to be putting in these long days, but again, I'm very fortunate to have 24 students who want to be involved and want to help. I mean, that's how cool is that? It's awesome. So looking forward to that.
No, well, you guys are doing a phenomenal job. Any kind of, like, if you could give the fan base maybe one message or just thought and anything that you would say as we gear up going into basketball season, winter sports.
Yeah. Well, if you're still listening, I know that I probably say this a lot on the Instagram, but maybe take it easy,
Yeah.
If you're a fan out there that gets a little heated, just think about where we are. If you were a fan 12 years ago, which I was, where was our basketball program? Where was our football program? Wasn't, any better. So just appreciate where we've come, appreciate the coach that we have, because, as much as, for instance, if we play Towson today and we only win by 12, I know some of you out there will be like, well, this went wrong. We shouldn't have done this. We shouldn't have put this person in. In my opinion, it's great to, theorize about all those things. But at the end of the day, I think we have to trust what Tony Bennett's doing. And that's kind of just the bottom line.
Yeah. I couldn't think of a better university to be a fan of, to be honest.
Yeah.
So.
And another thing would be just, I appreciate, again, all the support to all the followers, friends, people who pay attention, and going to be working hard to make it even better and keep everything in line. So appreciate all the support.
Awesome, man. Well, Gray, we really appreciate your time, appreciate the content that Wahoops and your team puts out, and just excited to see where you guys grow to. For those of you that don't already follow Wahoops, make sure you follow on Instagram. And really appreciate your time today, Gray.
Appreciate it, Daniel. Thanks so much. That was really fun talking about the account. Thanks.
Absolutely. Hopefully we can do it again.
Yep. We'll catch up very soon.
All right, man. Take care.
All right. Have a good one.